Hey you guys. Okay, so I'm doing this video without a thumbnail today because this is in response to some of the comments on my third Amber versus Johnny Depp video. Okay. So I listened to some of the comments, and first I want to say that in this video I'm going to play you the sound bite where Johnny Depp admits that they both have physically abused each other. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Secondly, I'm going to read you an article from Variety about some of the communication surrounding some of the allegations recently. And then the third thing is I'm going to read you a Hollywood Reporter article from 2017 that I think is going to be interesting to you guys. So in today's world, everybody can get abuse, and it goes well beyond gender. It goes into so many different facets because abuse happens in so many ways. Certainly every day there are countless domestic violence disputes amongst people and murders being done by people's loved ones. And, you know, it's just really, really awful. And I hear myself on the Patreon from many of my listeners, their abuse stories, because I've shared mine. And I can tell you it definitely can happen to anyone based on anything. Your size and your physicality doesn't really matter. It can be, it just can be anything. But, I think what I was trying to do, or what I keep trying to do, is keep an open mind. And although I'm a huge Johnny Depp fan, just like most of you, and I think he's interesting and hot and sweet and generous and charismatic and super funny and a million other really hot things, I'm trying to keep an open mind to all the different information that's out there. And when I listen to the court, yes, so far I'm blown away by the fact that there was maybe nail polish put on a tissue to make it look like her Amber's injuries were worse than they are. And I'm blown away that the police came and looked at her from a domestic violence perspective and didn't believe one happened. And I'm upset, that people that know Amber Heard say that she's a manipulator like Sia, and that, this is the only way to stop her, and of course I am struck by the fact that the psychologist that inspected Amber said she has a borderline personality issue and, obviously has some mental health problems. I've seen that. I've also seen that there's been friends that couldn't see her injuries after they supposedly happened, and that there was, she probably doctored some pictures with makeup and stuff. Okay, so I'm seeing all there's this. Also a lot of things around about Johnny, and I just can't be like, I love him, forget it. I'm not going to look at those other things. It's like, I want to know everything to just be in my own opinion. And my opinion changes sometimes day to day based on the information. Like, I'll hear one thing, I'm swayed one way, the next day I sway, And yes, the court case is very compelling, but everybody has an agenda in that court case for their own story to be told, the way they want it to be told. So anyway, today I'm going to share some things with you guys. And you guys are immediately going to think I'm sharing this somehow to be supportive to Amber Heard, which I'm not. I'm sharing it because I think it's interesting in how you're viewing the case and what people have been saying within the case and other things that have been happening regarding Johnny Depp. So let's get into it.
I swear to you, because I just couldn't take the idea of more physicality, more physical abuse on each other. Because had we continued, it would have gotten fucking bad. And baby, I told you this once. I'm scared to death of it. We are a fucking crime scene waiting to happen if we don't get our shit together. And that, by getting our shit together, that might mean fucking A, we do this and we make it. That might mean, goddamn, you know, you say, I've tried, I'm done, toodaloo. But we've got to get our shit together as individuals and as a couple. Because I love to leave you. I do not want a divorce. I do not want you out of my life. I just want peace. And if I'm the culprit, majority of the time, I will fucking do everything I can. And I will recognize when I'm fucking starting to go sideways. I will recognize it. But please do the same. Please do the same. And it's okay to fight, like you said. It's okay.
You gotta... How do you remember that? I mean, how do you know that? Because sometimes you're so clear as to what is priority to you, what you care about, and then you seem to forget it when you get mad.
I can say the same thing about you, Angel.
Sure.
I did want to play that piece to you to make sure that I clarified where I felt like there was mutual physical abuse, although it's not clear as to what Johnny Depp meant by that. Could be just pushing, it could be, restraint, which has come out in court that Johnny Depp, some of the allegations that Amber has had against him hurting her came from restraining her because she's got such a crazy temper. It's come out that she's got diagnosable mental illness to a degree. But then there were people who came out and said Johnny Depp wine and dined the medical professional that gave that testimony. It's just a mess. But anyway, okay, so the other question that's on everybody's mind is, did indeed Amber Heard's Washington Post, op-ed that she doesn't mention his name in, but had to be him, basically, was it what made him get fired from the franchise? And many people have pointed out that there's some evidence to state that he was. And I wanted to read this quickly to you guys from Variety, right? Because Variety is an entertainment business magazine, so they usually have less sensationalized news articles. And it says, they just released this, by the way. It says, Johnny Depp testified Monday that he wanted to keep making Pirates of the Caribbean films because he wanted to give a proper goodbye to Jack Sparrow and the other characters in the franchise. Depp took the stand for the fourth day in courtroom in Fairfax, Virginia, where his defamation trial against ex-wife Amber Heard is ongoing. Depp alleges that he was dropped from Pirates franchise after Heard wrote a December 2018 op-ed in which he alluded to allegations of domestic abuse. He denies those allegations and is seeking $50 million in damages. On cross-examination last week, Heard's attorney Ben Rottenborn asked whether Depp had in fact been fired before the op-ed ran, which would undercut Depp's case. He also asked about statements Depp had made suggesting he was unhappy with the series and would not want to play Jack Sparrow. On redirect examination on Monday, Depp's attorney Jessica Mayers sought to establish that Depp was still interested in making the sixth installment in the franchise in late 2018. Quote, my feeling was that these characters should be able to have their proper goodbye, Depp testified. There's a way to end a franchise like that. I planned on continuing until it was time to stop. The fifth Pirates film, Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man Tell No Tales, was released in 2017. Depp said he was subsequently approached by the creative team to take part in writing the screenplay for the sixth Pirates movie. Depp has testified that the project is now in dangle mode. During cross-examination, Rottenborn asked about an October 2018 report in the Daily Mail, 2 months before the op-ed, which indicates he had been fired as Jack Sparrow due to financial issues and personal dramas. Depp says, I wasn't aware of that, but it doesn't surprise me. 2 years had gone by of constant worldwide talk about me being this wife beater, so I'm sure that Disney was trying to cut ties to be safe. On redirect, Depp said that he actually learned he was going to be recast a couple of days after the op-ed was published from a news article quoting a Disney executive. I didn't quite understand how after that long relationship and a quite successful relationship, certainly for Disney, that suddenly I was guilty until proven innocent, he testified. Depp has since claimed that he would refuse to do another Pirates film even if Disney paid him $300 million and 1 million alpacas. On redirect, Depp emphasized that the comment was made well after he had been fired. Depp was also asked last week about a text he sent to his assistant in March of 2015 during the filming of the 5th Pirates film, in which he complained about his work on the franchise and suggested that he no longer wanted to work on it. Honestly, I will not again, he says in this text message, be doing anything that involves this discussion of furthering my embarrassment of having whored for all these fucking wasted pieces of shit, nothing, years on characters that I so ignorantly started to think of as my legacy. He wrote at the time, every seeing fight, every fucking time I held my ugliness and rage deeper down and get in check when there was still room in my head to do such a thing. Depp testified that he was venting his anger at the time because the script was not up to snuff. Depp has testified about the pride he took in creating the Jack Sparrow character, noting that it deviated significantly from the character in the original script. Quote, I incorporated my notes into the character and brought that character to life, much to the chagrin of Disney initially, he testified last week. I believed in the character wholeheartedly, and initially the Disney folks were somewhat upset. Depp has denied Heard's abuse claims, alleging that she was the one who instigated fights and he would typically flee to avoid physical confrontation. Rottenburn's cross-examination focused largely on text messages and video and audio recordings, which included verbal abuse and references to physical fights. In one of the clips played for jurors on Monday, Heard said she had dumped Depp after you beat the shit out of me. In another audio clip, Heard told him to, quote, put your cigarettes out on someone else, and he responded, shut up, fat ass. On redirect, Depp's lawyer asked him to provide context for violent and disturbing messages, which were shown to the jury last week. And one of them he wrote to actor Paul Bettany that he wanted to drown and burn Heard and said he would fuck her burnt corpse afterwards to make sure she's dead. He said that he and Bettany were making a reference to Monty Python and the Holy Grail. The text that is about burnings misheard is directly from Monty Python, and the sketch about drowning witches, he said, it was irrelevant and abstract humor. Depp's testimony is expected to conclude Monday afternoon, and Heard will take the stand soon. This Monday, Amber Heard takes the stand. So something to point out as well is that it did come out with the sister's testimony that Johnny had been late to set. Now, there's another entertainment news magazine called Hollywood Reporter, and I found this article from May 10th, 2017, and it says, Johnny Depp, a star in crisis and the insane story of his missing millions. What happened to $650 million? An explosive legal battle between one of Hollywood's best paid actors and the business managers he fired has laid bare tumultuous finances, outrageous spending, and troubled behavior on Disney's new Pirates movie, in a case that could even change how the industry does business. Early one afternoon in October 2012, Jake Bloom and Joel Mandel left their respective Beverly Hills offices, slipped into their luxury cars, and embarked on the roughly 30-minute journey to the Hollywood Hills compound of their client, Johnny Depp. Bloom was rumpled in a graying lawyer. Okay, it goes on to then describe Johnny Depp's friends and how they're dressed and the way they were. And then he says, these men were part of Depp's inner circle, at least as far as any lawyer or accountant could belong to the inner circle of an artist. this mercurial one with a skull and crossbones tattoo on his leg, and death is certain scrawled beneath it, whose soulmates were such creative titans as Marlon Brando, Keith Richards, and Hunter S. Thompson. The journalist whose ashes Depp fired from a cannon hauled to the top of a 153-foot tower, a tribute for which the actor says he paid $5 million. Leaving their cars that day, the advisors approached one of Depp's 5 houses on a dead-end stretch of North Sweetser Avenue, a modernist affair that was simply referred to as 1480. The building had been converted into a recording studio and was an appendage to an 8-bedroom castle-like mansion once owned by music producer Barry Gordy. One of the star's 2 omnipresent assistants led the men in past a painting that British artsy Banksy had created for Depp and into a den where the actor was leaning back in a slightly battered chair surrounded by dozens upon dozens of classic guitars. After the obligatory small talk, the visitors got to the point. Depp's cash flow had reached a crisis point, they declared. Even though the star had become wildly wealthy, later Mandel would claim Depp earned more than $650 million in the 13-plus years he had been represented by the management group, the company Mandel had started in 1987 with his brother Robert. There just wasn't enough liquid money to cover Depp's $2 million in monthly bills. Without a fire sale, Depp, then arguably the biggest star in Hollywood and certainly one of the best paid thanks to the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, would never be able to meet his obligations, not the payments on his portfolio of real estate around the world, not the impulse purchases such as the 3 Leonore Fini paintings he had bought from a Manhattan gallery, the first 2 for $320,000, the third for $245,000 gift for then-girlfriend Amber Heard. Not the $3.6 million he paid annually for his 40-person staff, not the $350,000 he laid out each month to maintain his 156-foot yacht, and not the hundreds of thousands of dollars he paid to sustain his ex-partner Vanessa Paradis and their children Lily, Rose, and Jack. Mandel dug into his briefcase for one-page summary he had prepared, but Depp waved it away. Still, after 3 hours, the actor agreed to a compromise. He would sell his beloved Amphitrite, the yacht he had bought for $10 million, and spend $8 million renovating. Okay, bear with me, you're going to see some information that I think is important shortly. That exchange, the start of an increasingly fraught relationship between the star and his team, would culminate in the 2016 firing of Mandel and Depp's longtime agent, United talent agent, Tracy Jacob, along with a $25 million lawsuit filed January 13th by Depp against the Mandels, TMG, accusing them of fraud and mismanagement, among other things. TMG has since countersued, alleging Depp, now 53, failed to pay its commission on his income from the upcoming Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales, and painting a portrait of an out-of-control movie star reeling from a nasty split from Heard and used to spending freely, including $30,000 a month on wine. The Mandels seek a court declaration that Depp is responsible for his own financial waste. Depp's side wants them to pay him millions, claiming they served as lawyers as well as accountants, and therefore, if Depp's interpretation of a California statute is correct, had no right to a percentage of his earnings without a proper contract. The lawsuit, along with multiple interviews conducted by The Hollywood Reporter, indicate that Depp's capricious behavior and poor decision-making placed him in a serious financial bind, which paved the way for the rupture with his closest advisors, all whom declined to comment. It is unclear how the actor's problems have impacted his relationship with his sister, Christy Dombrowski, a longtime conduit to her brother and head of his production company, who selected Mandel in the late 1990s as one of 3 potential business managers for Depp to interview. Dombrowski allegedly received $7 million in loans as TMG managed Depp's estate. She, like Depp, did not respond to requests for comment. The unfolding legal battle could shake some of Hollywood's most established business traditions. Depp's new attorney is challenging the common practice of lawyers taking a percentage of their clients' earnings without a written contract. If the suit is successful, it could open the door to a host of similar challenges. All this comes as Walt Disney Studio prepares for the May 26 release of its latest Pirates movie, the fifth in the series. Studio execs worry that Depp's personal peccadilloes could impact the marketing of their $230 million budget tentpole and future of a $3.7 billion box office franchise. 6 years have passed since the last Pirates installment earned more than $1 billion globally, and Depp's most recent big budget vehicle, Alice Through the Looking Glass, lost hundreds of millions of dollars. Now it's betting that the star's private struggles won't sink this movie too. Depp's demons, which seemed to surface in November of 2014 when he appeared to be inebriated while presenting at the Hollywood Film Awards, became public when he was living in Australia for Pirates 5. Filming ran from February until July 2015, a span during which allegations of conflict between him and Heard spilled into the Australian tabloids. You've got to understand the kind of pressure Johnny was under in Australia, says producer Jerry Bruckheimer. At times, helicopters would follow him home. There would be so many media outside his gates that trucks were feeding them. There was so much stuff made up about him that Johnny had to fight on set and had gone back to the States, which we both read about while we were in his trailer. Still, sources close to the production report tales of excessive drinking, physical fights with Heard, and constant lateness on set, which often left hundreds of extras waiting for hours at a time. Time and again, Bruckheimer, an assistant director, and a flotilla of Disney executives led by production chief Sean Bailey were forced to huddle and debate how to handle their star's tardiness. He's not a morning person, quips one member of the group. Quote, "There were certainly days when our plans were challenged," said Bailey, "but no one should underestimate Johnny's passion and commitment to this character and this franchise." Several times, the production staff raised the matter of Depp's tardiness with him, both on set and in his trailer, in a largely fruitless attempt to have him toe the line. Often, sources said a production staffer was stationed in an unmarked car outside the Coomera, Queensland compound that Depp had rented from Grand Prix champion Mick Doohan so that the Sentinel could alert everyone the second a light was switched on in the morning or afternoon. Quote, "When he got up, he'd turn on the light, and the moment the light went on, they'd call the line producer, who would then call the directors. 'He's up, he's getting ready,' says an on-set source. They even had a special code term like, 'The Eagle has landed.' Johnny had no idea this was going on. Depp's lateness and alleged heavy drinking caused enough concern that Jacobs, his then agent, got into an argument with Bruckheimer when they were waiting on a set in the Gold Coast suburb of Helensvale. Quote, "She went over to Jerry and said, 'You've got to do something. You're the producer,'" recalls a production source. Quote, "He said, 'You do something. You're the agent.'" Bruckheimer denies the spat took place. "Everyone was an innocent bystander watching this train wreck," the source continues. "But when Johnny came on set, he was charming, nice. He's yin and yang." Filming shut down at one point when Depp injured himself slicing open his finger. "That was pretty serious," said Bruckheimer. Though many outlets reported the wound was the result of abuse-fueled marital dispute, Bruckheimer suggests otherwise. "We don't really know. He got it caught in a car door, or he got it caught in a sliding door. I've heard a couple of versions." Asked whether Depp has put his troubles behind him since then, at least one ally insists that he has. "I just saw him on May 3rd. He's never looked better," said litigator Martin Singer, who has worked with him for 2 decades, though not on the current lawsuits. "The guy was as fit as a fiddle." By the time he had begun shooting Pirates, Depp already was withdrawing from his closest reps. Jacobs, who had signed him after seeing the late 1980s Fox series 21 Jump Street, was ostracized and eventually fired in a short phone call. Colleagues say she was devastated. Mandel got his walking papers on March 14, 2016, in the form of a letter that insiders say stunned the business manager who had seen Depp weeks earlier. That meeting had ended with a hug and a kiss. By all objective measures, Depp's representatives seemed to have served their client well. Following 2003's Pirate of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, the actor routinely earned $20 million upfront against 20% of the back end per picture and had a perk package worth approximately $3 million. According to one source, he reaped more than $40 million apiece from his share of the back end of the Pirates movies and made some $55 million from his profit participation on 2010's Alice in Wonderland, which earned him $1.03 billion worldwide. It is unclear how much Depp understood that these large numbers were not the amounts he could spend. UTA took 10% off the top. Bloom and Mandel each took another 5%. Taxes and business expenses further reduced the income to far less than half the gross number. And after a trifecta of big budget flops, 2014's Transcendence, 2015's Mort Decai, and the Alice sequel in 2016, it became clear the spigot was tightening. Depp's current lawyers, hired in October, insist the actor was not properly advised and that Depp's interest lay in his artistry rather than his finances. But reps for TMG say Depp repeatedly was told to tighten the reins. The Mandel countersuit alleges that he ladled out $75 million on buying and updating 14 residences, owned more than 200 artworks, including some by Klimt, Warhol, and Modigliani, kept a memorabilia collection in 12 storage facilities, and spent another $1 million archiving it. After he connected with Heard on one occasion, he walked into a high-end jewelry store, sat for a couple of hours, said an insider. They showed him a lot of stuff, gave him champagne, and he walked out with a $400,000 diamond cuff. It was a classic sort of moment because it wasn't worth $400,000. When the couple decided to take the Orient Express and travel around Europe, a full security team accompanied them. There was almost always 2 security guards with Depp, the source says. He had a crew in LA, a team of 8 or 10 that traded off with private security at the Sweetser homes and the lofts downtown. Those lofts were a collection of penthouses in LA's historic Art Deco Eastern Columbia building. Depp has since sold 2 of the 5 units, which he bought for $7.2 million in 2007 or 8, and which were listed early last year at a combined price of $12.78 million. As the financial strain grew more intense, sources say he pulled further away from Jacobs, Bloom, Mandel, and his publicist Robin Baum. At one point, the Depp lawsuit notes Depp's talent agent, presumably Jacobs, wrote to Mandel, "Did you tell Johnny he needs to make $25 million by the end of the year? What are you doing?" His key reps struggled to maintain access. It became harder to find the right time to get him, says a source. In the old days, it was just a question of when he was free, but now it became a matter of finding time when he was free and clear of mind and in the right mood. He got angry a lot. He'd scream at someone that worked at the house or his security. On May 30th, 2015, 3 years after the Sweetser tete-a-tete, Mandel met with Depp again, this time in the Eastern Columbia building, ready for another confrontation. He insisted Depp sell his friend's chateau, part of a hamlet outside of Saint-Tropez, that he'd purchased for an unknown sum before adding $10 million in renovations. The actor agreed. "I'm ready to face the music in whatever way I must," he texted Mandel. According to the TMG countersuit, "I know there's a way to dig ourselves out of this hole, and I'm bound and determined to do it." The estate was put on the market for some $27 million, twice Sotheby's valuation. Then, sources say, Paradis and Lily Rose urged Depp to change his mind. The actor had never been married to the French actress-singer, but continued to help support her after the 2012 split, even buying her a $4.5 million home. Now, that issue helped sour the Depp-Mandel relationship, and soon after they spoke by telephone with 4-letter words, peppering their talk. In March 2016, Mandel and TMG were fired. The possible catalyst for the lawsuit was a multi-million-dollar bridge loan TMG made to Depp in 2012. The managers say they tossed their client a lifeline as he faced default on a $5 million loan. In the cross complaint, TMG's attorney Michael Kump says the firm stepped in to help Depp avert a devastating financial collapse. When he defaulted on that loan, TMG alleges the firm initiated foreclosure proceedings on 2 of the actors' home in the Hollywood Hills. TMG says Depp's lawsuit arrived with the potential sale of those homes only weeks away. Anyway, Depp goes on. Okay, so then it goes down and it says, the star's perspective is different. According to Depp's complaint, his new business manager and forensic accountant, Edward White, uncovered serious discrepancies related to that loan and other financial matters. And in this narrative, the actor felt the only recourse was to sue. So that's sort of that. And it goes on. And then it gets really into the details about the lawsuit with his old team. Anyway, so that's kind of it. At the end of the story, basically what comes out of it is Bruckheimer says that Johnny Depp on Orient Express did a great job, was always on time. And, so he kind of goes there. You guys, there's 2 sides to every story. Okay, so my last thing is, do you guys think that Amber Heard's op-ed was the reason Johnny Depp got fired from the Pirates of the Caribbean? Or do you think that it was a culmination of events like this article kind of demonstrates? You tell me. My opinion, and it's just my opinion, and you guys, it's okay to have a different opinion than me. And I don't want to be bullied into submission. So please share your opinion, but be tolerant to other people's opinions, even if you're violently against them, just because it's important. What I was going to say is my opinion is that it was not just Amber Heard's op-ed. It was more than that. And I don't think that Disney wanted to be associated with someone who's got this level of drugs and alcohol problems happening. It happened with Lindsay Lohan. Yeah, I worked on Georgia Rule, and there was a lot happening on that production, for sure. Letters were sent about Lindsay Lohan. Anyway, all I'm going to say is, even if you don't agree with my opinion always, it's still good to have everybody have their own opinion. And I still want you to subscribe, and hit the notification button, even if my opinion pisses you off. Okay. I'll talk to you guys soon.